Motivation is a liar. It shows up when it feels like it, stays for a while, then leaves without warning, usually right when you need it the most. You feel it strongest at the beginning, the first day of the new plan, the moment right after watching something that lit a fire in you. Everything feels possible in that window. You can see the whole transformation already, clear as day. And then a week passes, maybe two. The fire dims, the way it always does, and suddenly the plan that felt so certain starts to feel optional again. That's not a personal failure. That's just what motivation does. It was never built to last. It's a spark, not a fuel source. And somewhere along the way, you were taught to wait for it. To treat it like fuel. Like something you need before you can start. That's the mistake. Motivation was never meant to carry you the whole way. It was only ever meant to get you moving once. After that, something else has to take over. Discipline. Not the version of discipline people picture. Punishing, joyless, gritting your teeth through everything. Real discipline is quieter than that. It's just doing the thing you said you'd do on the days you don't feel like it, without needing a reason. That's it. That's the entire skill everyone's chasing, under 100 different names. Think about the last time you actually kept a promise to yourself. Chances are, it wasn't because you felt inspired that day. It was because you'd already decided in advance that the feeling wasn't going to be the deciding factor. That's discipline, not a burst of energy. A decision that outlives the mood you're in. Motivation is loud and temporary. Discipline is quiet and permanent. And the people you admire, the ones who seem unstoppable, who show up every single day without fail, they're not more motivated than you. They just stopped waiting to feel like it. Here's what nobody tells you about the people who have it all together. They have bad days too. Tired mornings. Moments where the couch looks a lot more appealing than the work. The difference isn't that they don't feel that pull. It's that they built a habit strong enough to move anyway, regardless of what they feel. Motivation asks, do you want to do this right now? Discipline doesn't ask. It just moves. There's something almost unfair about how simple this sounds and how hard it actually is to live by. Because everything in modern life is built to sell you the opposite. Faster results, bigger sparks, louder inspiration. Nobody's selling do the boring thing consistently for 2 years. It doesn't fit in an ad. It doesn't go viral. But it's the only version of the advice that's ever actually worked for anyone who built something real. And that's uncomfortable to hear because it means you can't keep blaming your lack of results on a lack of motivation. The motivation isn't the missing piece. The commitment is. So why does everyone chase motivation instead of building discipline? Because motivation feels good and discipline feels like work. Watching a hype video, reading a quote, getting fired up for 20 minutes, that's easy. It costs nothing. Actually showing up, day after day, long after the initial spark fades, that costs something. It costs comfort. It costs the version of you that wants to take the easy way out. That's exactly why most people stay stuck in the motivation cycle. They keep refilling a tank that was never built to last, instead of building an engine that doesn't need refilling at all. You don't need another speech to hype you up. You need a system that works even when you're not hyped up. That's a harder truth to sit with than any hype video will ever give you, because it puts the responsibility back where it always actually belonged, on you, and on what you do in the ordinary, unremarkable hours nobody's watching. No external circumstances coming to fix this for you. Not a better job, not a new city, not a different relationship. Wherever you go, you bring the same relationship with discipline you have right now, unless you actually build a new one. on purpose, starting with something small enough to be honest about. Let's talk about what that actually looks like, because just be disciplined isn't advice, it's a slogan. Real discipline starts small, smaller than you think. It's not overhauling your entire life overnight. It's picking one thing, one single habit, and doing it so consistently that skipping it starts to feel wrong. Not hard, wrong. Like forgetting to brush your teeth. That's the target. Not intensity, consistency. Most people fail at discipline because they start too big. They try to change everything at once, burn out in 2 weeks, and conclude that they're just not disciplined people. That's not the truth. The truth is they built a system too heavy to actually carry. Think about it like weight training. Nobody walks into a gym for the first time and loads the bar with the maximum weight they hope to lift someday. They start with something manageable, something that lets them show up again tomorrow without being too broken to try. Discipline works the same way, and almost nobody applies that same logic to it. They treat their first week of a new habit like it needs to look like their 100th week, full intensity, no room for a bad day. And then they're shocked when it collapses under its own weight within days. Discipline isn't about willpower. Willpower runs out, it's a limited resource, and everyone's tank empties by the end of a hard day. Discipline is about removing the need for willpower in the first place. You do that by making the habit small enough that it doesn't require a decision. Small enough that even your worst day can still get it done. 1 page, 1 set, 1 rep, 1 5-minute version of the thing. Do the small version enough times, and eventually the identity shifts. You stop being someone who's trying to be disciplined and start being someone who simply is. That shift from trying to being is the whole game. There's a moment that happens for everyone who builds real discipline, and it always feels anticlimactic when it arrives. One day, you just do the thing. No internal negotiation, no pep talk required, no motivational video queued up to get you in the mood. You just get up and do it, the same way you'd get up and get a glass of water. That's not motivation. Motivation would have made it feel exciting. This feels like nothing, which is exactly the point. The people who actually change their lives aren't running on adrenaline forever. They're running on a system so ingrained that it doesn't require emotion anymore. That's freedom, actually. Not needing to feel a certain way in order to do what you said you'd do. Because if your actions depend on your mood, you're not in control of your life. Your mood is. Think about how much of your life has been dictated by a feeling that passed within the hour. The workout you skipped because you were tired at 6 a.m. and then had energy for by noon, except the window had already closed. The message you didn't send because you felt awkward in the moment, a feeling that had completely vanished by the next day, along with the opportunity. How much of your life has quietly slipped away? Not because you couldn't do the thing, but because you happened to feel a certain way in the 15 minutes you had to decide. That's not a small cost. Over years, that's the difference between the life you wanted and the one you settled for by default. And moods are unreliable. They shift with sleep, with weather, with a bad conversation you had 3 hours ago. Build something that doesn't answer to the mood. Build the thing that shows up regardless. That's discipline, and it will outperform motivation every single time, in every single area of your life, without exception. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for the hype video to hit different this time. Stop waiting for some future version of yourself who finally has it figured out. Pick the smallest version of the habit you actually want. Something so small you can't talk yourself out of it. Do it today, whether you feel like it or not. Do it again tomorrow, whether you feel like it or not. Somewhere in the repetition, without any dramatic moment marking the change, you'll notice you've become someone different. Not someone who's always motivated, someone who doesn't need to be. And when that shift finally happens, something strange occurs. The things that used to require enormous effort start to feel almost automatic. Not because they got easier, but because you stopped negotiating with yourself about whether to do them. That's what everyone chasing motivation is actually looking for, whether they realize it or not. Not a bigger spark. Relief from the exhausting daily argument with themselves about whether today is the day they'll follow through. Discipline ends that argument. Permanently, if you let it. That's the version of you that actually finishes things, that actually builds the life you keep saying you want. Not the version waiting for inspiration to strike. The version who stopped waiting and just started showing up. Every single day, especially the ones where you don't feel like it. That's discipline. And it's the only thing that was ever actually going to get you there.